Beats and balls. Extras. An extra portion.
Hi, I'm Carl Crisp, the producer of the Beats and Balls show. You're listening to Beats and Balls, the extra portion. From time to time, we'll post extended versions of interviews not included in the regular show. You're listening to an extra portion of the interview with pro baller, pundit, journalist, author and activist, Eni Aluko. In this interview, we'll cover punditry in a male environment.
See, as a female pundit, like in the men's game, it's that challenge of knowing that regardless of how good you are, people are going to be like, yeah, she don't know what she's talking about because she's a woman. Like, that's still there, unfortunately.
The USA women's football team.
America, they are bad bitches.
Being a role model for equality.
A lot of the time people are like, oh, you're a token gesture, you tick all the boxes sort of thing. But I sort of flipped it in a way because I can't help being a black woman. So I'm just like, well, I'm just going to be the best tick box I can be.
And her new book, They Don't Teach This. Enjoy.
Beats and balls. In extra portion.
So the book, the idea behind They Don't Teach This is about, obviously it's an autobiography about my life, but the way the book is structured, it's kind of 9 chapters, 9 lessons or 9 or more lessons like about life. So the lessons that you can't really teach, the hard lessons that you kind of have to figure out when you're going through an experience. And people kind of know me as like the educated footballer, went to uni, did law, and it's kind of a play on that, like the idea that, you know, I've been taught a lot growing up, but the book is about the stuff that no one really taught me. It's about, you know, how to figure out, you know, what to do when you're the only woman doing something, or, you know, how to understand who you are, and self-validate, forgiveness, success, failure, like all of these like lessons that kind of come to you after you've been through an experience. So that's what I think people can hopefully take from it, like the lessons that they can apply to their life as well through my experience. A lot of people have told me like I've done this the wrong way around, like I should have retired first and wrote the book, but I think if you look at my life, I don't really do things kind of conventionally anyway. So I think, to be honest, I mean, I'm only 32, so you know, the age at which I've written an autobiography is probably a bit young, but I've been through a lot in those 32 years, and I think a lot that I can share. And I actually think age is it's regardless, because it's about what you've been through and how you can share that and resonate with other people. So that's what really inspired me, really, just the opportunity to and the platform. You know, obviously I'm a footballer that people know, and being able to share those experiences so that people can relate and kind of look at themselves and self-reflect and get better from reading the book. And so far the book's been out like a month now, and I feel like that's massively been the experience. Like, so many people are like, oh my God, I just read that paragraph. Oh my, I know what you mean. Like, I've been through that too. And that fills me with so much joy, because in the process of writing the book, that's really what I wanted in terms of the objective.
Beats and balls in extra portion.
Doors close, others open, and life goes on. After the hearing, I stepped through one of life's many doorways and found myself in a new chapter. God, ever my guide and trusted concierge, closed the door behind me, directed me forwards, and opened a new door onto new and exciting possibilities. I've learned to be as thankful for old doors closing as I am for new ones opening. Daunting as it might seem, I've noticed that the act of closing the door on the past often propels me into life's next encounter. This was one of those moments of closing doors and forward momentum. Before I knew it, I found myself in another summer, at another tournament, trailblazing another broadcasting first for women's footballers. In June 2018, ITV invited me to Russia as a pundit for the Men's World Cup. Together with my former England teammate Alex Scott, who was working with the BBC, I became one of the first female pundits to join coverage of a Men's World Cup with a British broadcaster. Personally, it was another huge stride forward from the 2 Euros I'd already done, and a breakthrough to rival my groundbreaking appearance on Match of the Day 4 years before. It was a huge honour and an even bigger responsibility. I knew from my previous previous experience at the Euros in France in 2016 that as a female pundit at the top level of the men's game, I would be allowed no margin of error. I had a following now, and my opinions had won the respect of both fans and others in the media. Still, I knew there would be detractors, those who would question my right to talk about the men's game on television. Inevitably, the questions would come. Was I there on merit? Or was I there as another token diversity gesture by a broadcaster? Was I there because I was a good pundit? Or because as a black female player, I was a convenient box-ticking exercise? These same questions had lurked in the background since I first went on air, but this was the Men's World Cup, and they were about to get much louder. In some ways, of course, it was true. I did tick all the boxes, but that only made me more determined to do a good job. I told myself I was going to be the best tick box ever to grace a screen. I understood the kickback as an unavoidable part of being a trailblazer. Anyone engaged in breaking molds is likely to encounter resistance from those who want to maintain the status quo. And as always, I found the best answer was to perform in the hope of quickly establishing a new norm. So that's what I did. I focused on performing and looked forward to the day when it would be entirely normal to see female football pundits at a Men's World Cup. Once again, I knew preparation would be everything, and I threw myself into the work. I enjoyed preparing for games behind the scenes just as much as being live on air. A month before the first World Cup game kicked off, I asked my agent Joe to get a schedule of the games I would be working on. Then I did my homework, practicing my analysis in the mirror and pinning down my opinions on the teams, their tactics, players and managers, as if my life depended on it. I think for me, the key challenge is, it's twofold. So obviously as a female pundit, in the men's game, it's that challenge of knowing that regardless of how good you are, people are going to be like, yeah, she don't know what she's talking about because she's a woman. That's still there, unfortunately. Fortunately, it's moved on from that in the sense that people see it as sort of a genderless thing now, where it's like, is she a good pundit or not? And to be honest, I quite like some of the criticism, because even guys like Gary Neville and Roy Keane and Jamie Carragher, they get criticism. So who am I to not get it? But that does get difficult because I really work hard at it, and a lot of the time people are like, oh, you're a token gesture and you tick all the boxes sort of thing. But I've sort of flipped it in a way because I can't help being a black woman. So I'm just like, well, I'm just going to be the best tick box I can be. You know, people say it as a dig, as an offensive thing, and I'm like, yeah, but I'm here though. So you might see it as a tick box, but I'm here. You're not. And at the end of the day, I'm going to do the best possible thing I can do as that tick box. And ultimately, I've got... Because ITV wouldn't hire me if I was a shit pundit. That's just the reality. I might be their way of saying we've got a black woman, but I don't care about that. I care about doing my job in the best way, I can be. Yeah, I think for the longest time, a lot of pundits got jobs off the back of their reputations as just legends of the game. But I think the viewer now has become a lot more sophisticated, and because we have more choice, as viewers, it's like, I'm not just going to sit there and watch such and such just chilling off the back of his reputation and scoring in 2001. That's not enough for me. So I think there's still a lot of that. I remember when I worked at ITV, my first men's gig for the men's Euros, and I won't mention who it was. Actually, I will. It was Emmanuel Petit, and I'd spent the whole day prepping for this show, this highlight show, watched all the clips, watched the goals over and over again. He rocked up 10 minutes before the show, and just kind of, you can see it in his kind of countenance. Yeah, and just not, he didn't take it seriously, and that's nothing on him. But he's been able to get away with that for so long. I can't get away with that. Do you know what I mean? I can't get away with sitting like this on the studio. I just can't. So that's I think there's a lot of that. And I think what's going to happen now is that actually broadcasters are going to be forced to really be selective, because, as I said, the viewers are just not having it anymore. And there's a lot of sort of these original content, raw fan shows coming up that people love because it's the raw truth. And that's becoming a competitor. So it's gonna create, I think, better punditry. America, I don't know if they are bad bitches. I'm sorry if I can't swear. They are bad bitches. Like, their mentality, you know, I know a few of them as well, and they knew they were going to win from the get-go. They were going to win, and they're not bothered about how it comes across, because I still think there's this kind of thing of, oh, women should be kind of apologetic, and no, they're not there for that. So they were just ruthless, like, from the get-go. I don't know if you saw the game where they won 30-0 against Thailand, and they're still celebrating the 13th goal. Now, that mentality right there, I think it's you either have it or you don't. And I think England are trying to create it, but I don't think it's something that you can force. I think it's either something that you're either going to be part of a winning team consistently. So someone like Lucy Bronze in the England team, I think, has that mentality, but I don't think all the players have it. So to your question, I don't think it's going to take America to have a bad patch, I think, for another team to kind of take that throne. So it's not like everyone like praises them. They have a lot of haters too, but they're just, every time they just take it up another bar. They inspire me, to be honest. Yeah, I love Megan Rapinoe, and I kind of make it known that I love Megan Rapinoe. She's like, I fangirl about her a lot, because for me, she is what an athlete should be, like, in modern day. You know, she's not only amazing on the pitch, just as a winger and a striker, and, you know, obviously scored the most goals, won the Golden Boot, won obviously the best player of the world, and won the World Cup. But she's using that platform to address very, very serious issues as a white female that she doesn't really need to do, you know. And that for me is like immense. You know, she's talked about police brutality, even though it doesn't affect her one bit. She's talked about equal pay, you know, she's the face of it. She's talked about racism, you know, her speech last week at the Best Awards, just immense. And like, she's just so great as a public speaker too, you know, like, she doesn't have any notes, you know, and I know how difficult, I do a lot of public speaking myself, I know how difficult it is. So she's just, again, a bad woman, you know. She's just amazing. She's amazing. Like, I seriously, like, I respect her a lot, and I think she's become what Colin Kaepernick is in, you know, NFL, in terms of just that beacon of change for women in the women's game.
Beats and Balls in extra portion.
Yeah, so they don't teach this, Lessons from the Game of Life. My book is out, available on Amazon. You can buy signed copies at Waterstones. If you're abroad, you can buy it on bookdepository.com. And I've also done an audiobook, which is all my voice, a lot of hard work. You can buy that, you can download that on Audible. So yeah, that's, and I think there's a few independent bookshops as well that sort of bought the book and taken it on. So
thank you for listening. Please like, review, share and subscribe to this and the regular show. Bye. See you soon.
Beats and Balls. Extras in extra portion.